So if you didn't have the chance to take a look at our two truths and a lie, I'm gonna have to spoil it for you, and the third one is a lie, unfortunately. My name is Magda, as you can probably see from my title here. I'm a communications director for the Earth Prize, and this is our first Action for Earth Week. And it's my pleasure to welcome you to the talk today. Um, I will. I would like to say a couple of words about what the Earth Prize is for a little warm up, because I'm not sure if you guys know what the Earth Prize is, or did you come here from completely outside of the circle? But let us know also in the chat. That would be interesting to know. But the Earth Prize is the largest environmental competition for people aged 13 to 19. And when you join the competition, you get to get one-on-one mentorship. You get to join our closed Discord group, get support, exclusive events, and everything is waiting for you on the other side of the Earth Prize onboarding. So you can find out more on this slide. You can scan the QR code here. And on the next slide, there will be a QR code for onboarding. So you can directly register to either take part in a competition or just join our movement and get access to Discord and these exclusive events that are all free and inclusive for all. So we are collecting registrations before 10th of Jan, so don't forget that deadline. We'd love to see you there. And now on to our talk. It is my pleasure to introduce you guys to Carolina Escobar-Tello from Doughnut Economics Action Lab. Yeah, the stage is yours. At the end, we'll have some time for questions. You can type them in chat, or we'll be maybe unmuting and having a bit of a discussion at the end. And there's also a little challenge waiting for you at the end of this. So stay tuned. And Carolina, please. Thank you for coming to our event today.
Thank you so much for the invitation. It's a really exciting and an honor for me to be able to be part of every effort that we have around the world to have better futures, right? Thriving futures. So yes, my name is Carolina Escobar-Tello. I am originally from Colombia. I currently live between Lisbon, Portugal, and the UK. My background is in education. Forever, I've been in love with young people and how can we design our everyday, really, in a different way that allows us to live with better futures and thriving, with well-being, with happiness around us, and of course, taking care of our planet. So I am drawing lots of energy and experience from the global north and the global south in what I'm doing now at Doughnut Economics Action Lab, for short deal, where I am at the moment representing the schools and education theme. And I want to share with you a little bit about what is this thing about zooming into the economy and how it can be relevant for you in your projects and as you join this competition, but also how can it support you in your future. So if you've never thought about the economy, just take a couple of minutes and write perhaps the first 2 or 3 words that come to mind when you think or when you hear about the word economy. What comes to mind? Just note them down somewhere in one of those post-its that may be lying around your desk. Right. So if you haven't thought about the economy at all before today, then today is the day. With my chat, really, I don't think is more than that. I want to bring you into the economy to learn about what is the donut, if you haven't heard about it before. What does this have to do with our everyday life, the economy and the donut, with us, with people and planet? And how do our ideas and whatever you may be designing in your projects as you go further into this event, what do they have to do with the economy and how can they support you? So this is you. Maybe you can mirror yourselves in one of these images, or maybe you can picture your local space, your everyone, your everyday, and it's shaped by the context that surrounds us, wherever you are in the world. And this context is influenced by lots of different things, our families, our friends, the culture that we live in, and they're ultimately underpinned by the structures, the society that we have been born into. And we adapt ourselves to this context as we grow up. But we're part of a larger system. We are one nation among many others around the planet, and this has impact on the local in your everyday, but also at a global scale. Everything we do has impact everywhere. So the Earth is the living world and is powered by the energy from the sun, and everything is interconnected. Earth is a living system and everything is interconnected, whether we think about it or not, like a spider web made of many different threads that are connected. If one of these threads breaks, it affects the whole web. Similarly, our actions can affect others. And where does humanity society comes in? It's nested within this earth and is dependent upon the rest of the living world. Society, which is a group of people who live together in the same territory and agree on a set of ways of doing things so that they can share the space and hopefully live in peace, is nested within this living larger system. And how we satisfy our everyday, our needs and our wants affects us locally, but also globally. And everything that we do in our everyday life, everything that brought you to this moment here, to this meeting session, in a place and in your countries where you are today, to meet our goals and complete our activities, comes from the living world, humans and beyond. And it will ultimately return to it. And we're part of this everything. We are also nature. And when you zoom in further, the economy is nested within this society. And so we see that people, humans, are not above everything or anything else on planet Earth. Our needs and our wants are part of and satisfy this entanglement of the ecosystems that we have around us, of this ecosystem on the planet. And they just don't matter to us, but they matter to each of you and to everything, to animals, to plants, to planet's living systems, and also non-living ecosystems. So therefore, if we take from Earth to satisfy our needs, or maybe our wants, like wanting to buy that new gadget that we saw there, for example, we must be mindful about how it is made, how are we going to use it, where are the materials extracted from, what sort of technologies is it using, how are we going to use it, for how long are we going to use it, what other resources have been involved, like water and energy, but also where is it going to be used in with contexts. Is it made of chemicals or solvents that maybe have been used during their production processes? How is this going to affect other animals and other living systems, other beings? All of these activities will inevitably affect the environment, society, and ultimately the economy and our capacity to continue living in this system. Again, we're all part of these larger systems because the economy is nested in society and these living systems in the earth. So, zooming into the economy, we see that these systems are composed of four spheres. And just hang in there with me, I'm going to take you through it. What is the economy? So, it's made of these activities that we call the spheres, grouped into four distinct types. And people help to meet our everyday needs and wants, including our families, our home, our communities, people who make these things that are sold in shops, like the gadget that I just mentioned, and people who are employed by the governments to provide the services for everyone, like teachers, students, nurses, doctors, etc. Our ability to live good lives depends on them all. And we have these four spheres all the time entangled. So this is why this entanglement and the nesting that you can see on the slide and all the subsequent consequences of that affects and are so important because all of life depends on the balance of all these systems. So we must care of all these living things on Earth, people locally and globally, and all the things that nature like animals, plants, our oceans, all the materials that we use for our economy, etc. And just remembering that the goal of life is so much more than just buying things in the shops, scrolling through our screens. It's much more than that. We are part of that economy not only because of buying or selling things, because we go to the market in that sphere that you may remember from my previous slides, but also because what happens at home and in our communities and in governments. It's crucial for people, wherever you are, to organize things in a way that is in balance and so that there is possibilities for everyone to live within that donut in a place where you can thrive. So as the donut proposes on this slide, if you're new to the donut, I'll just cover it very quickly. Our aim, what we're trying to propose at Doughnut Economics Action Lab, is that the aim for people and planet is to thrive. And we leave no one in the hole. So no one below that inner circle of the social foundation. And whilst making sure that the planet is healthy and that we respect its ecological boundaries, which is that bigger circle that you see, the ecological ceiling, the ring at in the outside, that we protect the living world while we satisfy our needs and our wants. And this is pretty much what, in a nutshell, the donut is about. It's leaving no one behind, protect the living world, and it comes from very serious research. It comes from the SDGs, the social priorities, which have been signed by 160 something countries, but also from scientists that are continuously looking into the data of the planetary boundaries and how Earth is behaving every day and the consequences for years to come. So remembering that that's our goal, we must always be thinking about our economy and how it behaves within that system. Right. So I hope everyone is still with me and we can go back to it when we have some questions and answers. But I'm going to go and zoom a little bit deeper so that what I've just shared now makes a little bit more sense in how it can be useful in your projects, but also how you can apply it in your everyday. Okay? So let's look at it more precisely. What does the embedded economy show us? And is it the economy that we have today? So when you look at Earth, this living world that we have, we can present it as a circle and it's powered by the energy of the sun. And this energy can be renewable, right? From the sun, like the energy that comes from these natural resources that are replenished much faster than they're used, like solar and wind and water and geothermal. But most of the energy that we use is non-renewable and it's finite. It's an energy source that comes from a very short amount of time, such as coal and natural gas, fossil fuels, nuclear energy. And all of these types of energy power our economy. And so over time, as solar energy enters into the earth and we use it, both people and planet, it transforms and it enters in an ordered way, we could say that. But as it transforms with all our human activities, what everything that other ecosystems are doing, it becomes chaotic and it's wasted, it's created, and then it leaves as heat, which is what we're calling climate change. It's our planet is heating up. And we can't really control it much in that chaos as it travels through. We think we cannot, but we will see that we can control it a bit more. And this energy is used in everything that we do as a human society, that nested circle. And society, as I mentioned before, is that subsystem that is part of the living world within our earth. And it is shaped by all the things that help us live together. So regulated by the social, political, culture, the legal institutions that you have in your country, including media, faith, communities, democratic processes, the social norms and traditions like music and dance and storytelling that shape where you are. And this is why societies across the world are so rich and invaluable because of that diversity. And so society is foundational. So we need to make sure that we nurture these connections. The wealth of trust and reciprocity that is created within these societies is gold. And it's a result of all these networks and these relationships that are infinite. And this makes us smarter, healthier, safer, richer, and better able to govern in a stable way around the globe, whether through local sports, teams that are international or not, faith groups, as I mentioned before, social clubs. We build these norms and these relationships that allow us to live and depend on each other. And these connections build that social cohesion that we need in order to help each other, in that to meet that fundamental need of everyone thriving within the donut. That everyone has a right to participate, to enjoy, to have leisure spaces, to have that sense of protection and safety and belonging. And so then we come to the economy again. You zoom in again into that subsystem, and you can see again those four spheres that construct this living world. And this is where the economic activity happens. In, again, as I mentioned before, the household, the market, the commons, and the state. These are all important realms of provisioning human needs and wants. And usually this is enabled by trust and also sometimes, most of the time, monetary transactions, but they can happen in many different ways. So when we look at all these nested systems and we realize really that everything is so interconnected and entangled, then the next question to ask is, how are we going to position ourselves with our everyday, now having this knowledge of the economy in a way that we can be mindful and that we must make sure that all the materials that we extract from the planet, all the technologies that we use, all the resources like water and energy, but also people that helps us in this everyday, all the chemicals that we use, the solvents, what can be toxic and what can be renewable or useful, all these living matters, that we can use them in a way that we can give them back to people and planet much quicker than the waste that it generates, so that we can keep this balance. Inevitably, we have to make sure that we keep this balance in the living systems, because it will affect us. We are part of this. Economy is interweaved with us all the time. So just to close this part, if you read on the slide that I have there, which I have played a little bit with the language to make sure that it reaches our young audience, is that it reminds us that the embedded economy is about making sure that we can meet the needs and wants in many ways through this household, the market, the states, and the common. And of course, acknowledging that different societies do this differently around the world, but that we make sure, no matter what, in that diversity, that we use these resources within Earth means, that we respect that balance and those finite planetary boundaries so that life can thrive. Right, so this brings us almost to the end of what I wanted to share. Just perhaps before we close to that part, just want to give you some examples. So you may be wondering, well, actually, what does the state look like, or what does the commons look like? Because I'm sure you know what the market looks like. But everyone should be able to recognize all these spheres because, as I say, they are part of our every day. And everyone should have a right in participating in this economy. And one of those main rights is that you know exactly how your everyday shapes it. Because unfortunately, this economy doesn't seem to be working for everyone. It's excluding many people. For example, if you don't have money for a reason, maybe physical or mental health, chronic illnesses, unemployment, lack of education in many parts of the world, you are excluded even if you don't want to. And if your values and your beliefs are different to the mainstream views, perhaps, of where you are at the moment, then you could also be excluded. Perhaps you don't feel safe to speak up and share what you think. So our economies are designed to grow endlessly and aimlessly at the moment, increasing economic inequality and excluding more and more people around the world. And this is also damaging all the Earth life systems, the rest of nature that shares this planet with us. So it should be the other way around. Our economies should be serving our human and our ecological well-being. So that's what we're trying to do. And I hope that this knowledge will help you in your projects as you go forward to think about how is it that what I'm doing and the ideas that I'm coming up could make visible this economy. What can help us to make it visible, the interactions between the groups of people and the environment and culture, the natural world. How is it that we can enhance some of the spheres that are usually invisible in the economy, that is not only about the market? So I'm going to give you some quick examples to help you think, reflect further about that. So the household is the core goods and the services that are produced within a household. So usually everything that has brought you to where you are today, all the hard work from your parents, from your aunts, from your uncles, from your guardians, all those things that helps us and is usually done by care or through care and reciprocity. So this image here includes some examples of like fixing and restoring and updating some of the households around the world, caring for all family generations, whether it's physical or emotional by sharing a meal or helping each other to get ready for school, completing household tasks that satisfy our everyday needs, again, like cooking or washing or cleaning and organizing, getting everything ready. All these things are part of the household. And also, you see now the market. Again, I'm sure you know this one. The market is the most prominent at the moment. The examples here include all the shopping commercial supermarkets that we're so familiar with, the international trade rules and the travel markets that govern the prices of the shops that where we go to buy things from, the food markets like the vegetable, fish, and meat markets that we have locally, but also globally, the industrial and the chemical industry markets, which are all these raw ingredients that are sold so that products, fancy products, can be made. And the financial markets where they exchange money and the value on money, and then the euro or the pound or Colombian pesos have different values around the world. All of this is governed and made in the market. And now going into the commons. This is probably one of the most exciting ones, and that is harder for younger generations to recognize. These are the co-created goods and services produced by and for members of the commons, so us, the people. And this could include things like public spaces that are clean and safe for all of us to enjoy, like libraries or playgrounds, um, pavilions where theater or music things happen, shared kitchens and learning spaces, repair spaces, play spaces that are open and flexible and accessible to everyone, no matter where you come from. The open source software, for example, like Wikipedia, that's something that lives in the commons. Sharing food and produce between neighbors as well. Perhaps you do that where you live. I have lots of apples, so I'm going to give them to you, and I don't need to charge you for anything. The freedom to roam and graze through walks of land and pathways. You don't have to ask for permission or pay for it. And finally, now the state, super important. This is the public goods and services that are produced by the state for the population. So these are the laws and the legislation with an economic regulation setting where policies and rules come into balance so that they can facilitate all the economic relations of all the other spheres. And here I'm talking about education, goods and services that may be regulated in many parts of the world, with caps of costs, for example, or a particular curriculum that is included. Transport as well is another good example of state services. Public health and sanitation, with most of the world, we have this regulated by the state. Policy and legislation institution, like the constitution of your different countries. Formal public news outlets as well that may happen in newspapers or on the TV that are regulated by the state so that we know what is truth and what is not. And the national defense institutions as well. All of these things usually go in that sphere. So the beauty of having all these things together and the embedded economy in particular is that it makes visible the household and the commons. Usually, traditionally in economics, we usually only see the market and maybe the state. But the beauty and the invitation for you is to always think about and trust these based interactions as well as the financial transactions. These aspects are essential for us to create an economy that is in balance, that allows us, all of us, to thrive within the ecological boundaries of our planet. This is why it's so important, because it's our home, it's our community, and sometimes it's referred as the core economy, the household and economy and the commons, because it's based on relationships of trust and care. And this goes a long way beyond the financial transactions that we have. So here we have it, the full picture. And I've added a little bit of more detail in each of those spheres so that when it comes to your projects, you can go back to them and reflect on what you're designing, what you're coming up with, the ideas that you have, and think about that journey. Where does it go? And how can it travel more in the commons or the household, not necessarily in the market? How can we extend that access to everyone? So coming back to your projects and just to finish off, if you're already working with a specific idea, thinking about the conversation that we just had, the invitation again, how can the donut help you to think about that idea and move it into that fleshy part of the donut? And how does it move through that embedded economy? Have a go and map it through that journey of the four different spheres. How could it perhaps support better in a more aligned way the balance that we've been talking about when we refer to planetary or household and commons balance to our communities? How can we make that more visible? How can we make sure that it also takes into account how other beings or other living and non-living ecosystems will experience that idea, like water resources, other animals, the oxygen that we breathe? What would they say about your idea? How would they feel about it? And finally, if you are unsure about the focus of your idea, then the invitation is to think a bit more about this conversation, to revisit the concepts of the donut and the embedded economy and identify the challenges perhaps. What would be challenging in your local spaces and your global spaces? Where are we out of balance? And how could you think of something where the idea of the donut becomes that compass that helps us to come into balance? And how can we use the embedded economy to explore that with a different lens, to see life through this different lens, so that we can learn to live in a more aligned way, to start doing our everyday tasks, satisfy our needs and wants in a more aligned, balanced way. And that's it. Before I close, I invite you all to visit our Doughnut Economics Action Lab platform if you haven't done so. Everything is for free. It's based, of course, in the book Doughnut Economics by Kate Raworth, and we launched this in 2020 so that we could work with people like you to help us put into actions all those concepts. We have lots of tools and methods that are for free. Everything that we do can be downloaded and you can explore it in a lot more detail. We have 6 themes, one of them schools and education, but make sure to go and visit all the themes and you may find perhaps other things that trigger your inspiration and your ideas even further. If you go to schools and education, you will find lots of resources that talk about the donut in detail, about how do we set up learning and teaching spaces that are more aligned with the planet. You will find lots of videos and explainers about things. Last year, we launched these 3 tools that you see online or on my slide, Hello Donut, Preparing to Teach, but also the dimensions of the donut. And a lot of them have activities that are really playful, that you can do within your own time, with your families, in your classrooms, with your friends. You don't have to wait for the teachers to come and teach you anything. Just go and download them if you're really keen to learn about more. But great if we have your teachers. And for that, we have prepared some videos that help to explain much quickly all these tools that we have. So I invite you again to visit our webpage and watch those videos that are really short, but they give a very quick explanation of how you can use them and adapt them to your place. And finally, we try to meet once a month at the moment. Our next meeting is going to be in January, and everyone is welcome, young and old, anyone that is interested in schools and education. And it's just an informal space to talk about challenges and how can we help to change the education system so that we become aware of the things that I've been talking about today much early, right? You don't have to become an economist to learn about these things. You can be whoever you want to be. And just to close, we're working on the tools or the knowledge that I've been sharing with you about the embedded economy. We will be launching this in January. So if you want to learn more about it, please visit us again in January, where sign up to our newsletter and then make sure to use those resources in your teaching spaces. And now I'm going to leave you with this invitation, 2 invitations. if you can, go out there and try and do something, maybe go to the cinema or a walk in the park and think about how is this activity contributing to the economy? Where does it sit? Is it in the market, in the commons, in the state? Maybe have a conversation with your friends and with your parents. I'll share this with you later as well, Magda, so that it can be shared wider. And now, look back to that piece of paper where you wrote down the couple of words that you thought of when you hear the word economy. And now, what comes to mind? How has your idea changed? How does your positionality, your responsibility of who you are as a person in this planet within the systems of the economy? Thank you so much for listening. I'm gonna hand it back to you again and I'll stop sharing.
Hi. Yeah, thank you so much. It was amazing. It actually changed my perspective on the economy. At the beginning, I was thinking of money, and now I think about this interconnected, donut shaped system where we're all contributing. I think that was great. Thank you so much. And before we move on to questions, I just wanted to let you know that to top off Carolina's challenge, we are sending you the next challenge as well, where you can win the Hope series, a documentary that's going to fuel you with some positive energy about the environment, hopefully. And if you would like to take the challenge, you'll find all the information in an email alongside this recording and hopefully the slides. And probably we'll be adding a lot of Doughnut Economics links to that email as well. So you can explore all of the resources and have a full package in your mailbox.